Tonight, we will take a slow, unhurried walk through the streets of ancient Rome. Not the Rome of noisy chariots racing in the Circus Maximus. Not the Rome of generals shouting orders on the battlefield. But the Rome of ordinary people, living ordinary lives, nearly 2,000 years ago. It is early morning, the sun just rising over the red-tiled rooftops. The air is cool, and the pale light paints the stone walls a gentle golden hue. The city is waking. You step out from a quiet courtyard through a wooden door with bronze hinges, and into a narrow street paved with large, uneven stones, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The stones still hold the dampness of the night, and in the faint light, you see small rivulets of water trickling along the edges. Remnants of the street cleaning done in the early hours, a daily ritual in the capital of an empire. You walk slowly, breathing in the faint aroma of baking bread. From a small shop to your left, a baker has already opened his counter. Inside, the oven glows red hot, and round loaves are stacked on a wooden shelf, their crusts crisp and fragrant. In Rome, bread is the heart of the diet, panis, and the government ensures grain ships arrive from Egypt and North Africa, feeding the countless mouths of the city. You take a moment, watching the baker sprinkle flour across a long wooden table. He works without hurry, knowing that, soon enough, customers will arrive with copper coins in hand, or perhaps with a small token given by the state, redeemable for their daily ration. Moving on, you notice the walls around you, painted with faded colors and simple graffiti. Some announce gladiator matches, crudely drawn figures with swords and shields, names scratched beside them. Others are just messages, declarations of love, or complaints about a dishonest merchant. Even 2,000 years later, the voices of ordinary Romans still whisper from the plaster. The street widens slightly, and the morning light grows warmer. A cart approaches slowly, its wooden wheels creaking, drawn by a sturdy mule. The driver, in a tunic and worn sandals, nods as he passes. His cart piled high with amphorae, tall clay jars sealed with wax, olive oil, perhaps, or wine from the vineyards of Campania. Such goods flow endlessly into the city, for Rome is a hungry, thirsty giant, sustained by the labor of provinces spread across the Mediterranean world. You pass under a small arch, the stone cool and damp. Beyond it, the street opens into a lively marketplace, the forum of this district, not the grand Forum Romanum with its marble temples, but a neighborhood hub, where locals buy vegetables, cloth, and small luxuries. Stalls are set up with wooden frames and awnings of faded fabric. The air is filled with the scent of fresh herbs, basil, rosemary, thyme, and the sharper tang of fish laid on beds of wet reeds. At one stall, a merchant offers fine pottery, smooth bowls painted in red and black designs. Another sells simple jewelry, bronze rings, glass beads that catch the morning sun. The glass, you recall, is a Roman specialty, crafted in workshops with techniques learned from the East. The people around you speak in low voices, bartering gently, the Latin language rolling softly in the air. Children dart between the stalls, laughing, their tunics slightly too big, their feet dusty. As the day warms, you stroll onward, past a small bathhouse, where steam curls upward from vents in the roof. Inside, men are already gathering for the morning soak, moving from warm rooms to hot, then cold. A ritual as Roman as the bread you smelled earlier. The bath is not just for cleansing the body, but for conversation, for news, for the quiet business of daily life. We leave the baths behind, and wander toward the Tiber River. The cobblestones slope gently downward, and soon the wide, muddy water comes into view, its surface shimmering under the growing sunlight. Boats drift slowly, bringing more goods from upriver, and on the far bank, warehouses rise in long, orderly rows. Here, the air smells of wood, rope, and the faint salt of goods from the sea. Men unload crates and sacks, their voices echoing against the stone walls. A cat weaves between them, searching for scraps from the cargo. You pause at the river's edge, leaning on a low wall of worn limestone. The city stretches around you, a mixture of noise and quiet, of grand monuments in the distance, and humble shops just a street away. This is the Rome that truly lived, not in marble statues or triumphal arches, but in the footsteps of bakers, merchants, laborers, and children. And so, As the day's heat begins to rise, you turn away from the river, heading back into the maze of narrow streets, where the shadows are cool, and the distant scent of baking bread still lingers. Let us leave the bustling streets of ancient Rome behind, and drift forward in time, many centuries, to a colder, quieter world. The year is somewhere in the early 1300s, and you find yourself approaching a castle, its gray stone walls rising high against a pale winter sky. The air is crisp, and the scent of wood smoke drifts from the chimneys above the great hall. You walk slowly along a narrow track, the earth frozen beneath your boots. Ahead, the drawbridge spans a dark, still moat, its surface reflecting the gray clouds overhead. The water moves just enough to ripple the reflection of the towers, and here and there, a duck glides quietly, unbothered by the chill. At the far side of the moat, the wooden planks of the drawbridge creak softly under your steps. Beyond it, a great iron portcullis hangs, teeth pointing down like the jaw of a giant. But today, it is raised, and the guard standing beside it nods politely as you pass. You step into the outer courtyard. The ground is packed earth, scattered with straw, and the air is filled with the muted sounds of daily life. To your right, a stable boy brushes the flank of a tall brown horse, its breath curling into clouds in the cold morning air. Nearby, hens scratch the ground, pecking at whatever they can find. A blacksmith works under a timber shelter, the ring of his hammer on iron sharp but steady, each strike sending a faint shower of orange sparks into the air. From here, you can see the castle's inner walls, taller, thicker, and protecting the keep at their center. A set of worn stone steps leads you up to a heavy oak door, its surface marked by the years, but still strong enough to hold against any storm. Inside, the change is immediate. The air warmer, scented with smoke and beeswax candles. You find yourself in the great hall, the heart of the castle's light. Long wooden tables stretch down the length of the room, their surfaces smooth from years of feasts and gatherings. Above, the beams are dark with age, and tapestries hang along the walls, woven scenes of hunts, battles, and saints. At the far end, a large fireplace blazes, its flames throwing a warm glow that dances over the faces of those nearby. The fire is not only for heat, but for cooking, for light, and for the comfort it brings to everyone here. Servants move quietly through the hall, some carrying trays of bread, cheese, and steaming pottage, a thick soup of barley, leeks, and herbs. Others pour ale into wooden cups, the dark liquid frothing at the rim. The lord of the castle is not yet in the hall, but his seat, a carved wooden chair with a high back, stands ready near the fire. In a quieter corner, a scribe sits at a small table, his head bent over a sheet of parchment. The feather of his quill moves slowly, dipping now and then into a pot of ink. He is copying a charter, the slow work of law and record that keeps the castle running. Near him, two children play a game with small carved pieces of bone, their laughter echoing softly against the stone. We leave the hall by a side door, and find ourselves climbing a narrow spiral staircase. The stones are cold beneath your hand as you follow the curve upward. Small windows let in thin shafts of light, and you can hear the faint sound of wind against the outer wall. At the top, you step into a chamber with thick woolen hangings on the walls, and a bed covered with heavy furs. This is one of the private rooms, warmer and more sheltered than the great hall. A chest at the foot of the bed holds clothing, wool tunics, linen shirts, perhaps a gown of deep blue for special occasions. From here, a narrow door leads to the wall walk. Stepping outside, you find yourself high above the courtyard, the cold air sharp in your lungs. From this height, you can see far over the surrounding fields, patches of pale winter grass, thin lines of smoke from distant cottages. The wall itself is broad enough for two men to walk side by side. Arrow slits cut into the stone offer narrow views of the land below, defensive eyes on the horizon. Back inside, the day moves on slowly. In the kitchen, great iron pots hang over open fires, and the scent of roasting meat fills the air. A cook stirs a pot with a long wooden paddle, adding a pinch of salt from a small clay jar. The kitchen is busy, but not frantic. Each person knows their task, from the boy turning the spit, to the woman kneading dough at the long table. As afternoon fades toward evening, the castle settles into a quieter rhythm. In the great hall, candles are lit, their flames soft and steady in the growing dusk. The Lord has returned, and a meal is served. Platters of bread, roasted fowl, and winter greens. At the far end of the hall, a musician plucks a lute, the gentle notes weaving through the low hum of conversation. Later, as night deepens, the fire in the hearth burns low, and people drift away to their chambers. The castle grows still, the only sounds the faint crackle of embers, and the wind moving softly around the towers. Here, in the thick stone walls, life is steady, safe, and unhurried. Now, let us leave the busy street behind. We step gently over the worn stone threshold of a Pompeian home, and find ourselves inside a cool, shaded courtyard. The air changes here. The heat of the sun softens, replaced by the faint, pleasant chill of stone walls that have stood for generations. A small pool, the impluvium, rests in the center, its surface catching a soft reflection of the blue sky above. A single drop of water falls from the roof's opening, sending gentle ripples outward. The owner of this home is not here, but the walls speak for him. Painted frescoes, still bright after all these years, tell stories of gods and feasts. A musician strums a lyre in one image, while in another, a banquet unfolds with platters of figs, olives, and bread. These pictures were more than decoration. They were a quiet reminder to guests that they had entered a house of culture, of refinement. We move slowly from the courtyard into the dining room, where a low table stands ready for the evening meal. 3 couches are arranged in a graceful U-shape, for in Pompeii, the finest dinners were enjoyed while reclining, with conversation flowing as easily as the wine. In the corner, a small oil lamp rests on a bronze stand. Its light, when lit, would have cast a warm, flickering glow across the room, a glow that might have danced across smiling faces and raised cups. We step farther, into the private quarters, a place where the city's noise fades to a whisper. Here, there is a bed frame of wood, simple but sturdy, a chest for clothing, and perhaps a small bronze mirror for the lady of the house. From a narrow window, the smell of baking bread drifts in. It comes from the bakery just next door, where round loaves are pulled fresh from the oven, their crusts crisp and warm. Back in the courtyard, a slave tends to a small herb garden, basil, thyme, and rosemary, their leaves releasing a delicate perfume each time the breeze stirs. Some of these herbs will find their way into tonight's stew, and others into medicines or scented oils. In Pompeii, even a quiet home like this one was connected to the heartbeat of the city. Every sound, every scent, every shaft of sunlight was part of a rhythm that had been the same for generations. The afternoon sun hangs low in the sky now, casting long, golden shadows across the streets of Pompeii. We leave the quiet home behind, stepping once again into the open air. The road stretches ahead, a path of worn stones, polished by the footsteps of countless citizens before us. Our pace is unhurried, each step echoing softly between the buildings. We pass by small workshops, a potter shaping a vessel on his wheel, hands coated in fine, pale clay, a bronze smith tapping gently at his workbench, coaxing the metal into form. These are the quieter corners of Pompeii, where skill and patience shape the life of the city. The air grows livelier as we near the edge of town. Here, the streets widen, and the sound of voices rises in the distance. We follow it, until the rounded walls of the amphitheater come into view. It is vast, a perfect oval of stone, nestled at the far end of Pompeii like a sleeping giant. Built centuries before the eruption, it could hold over 20,000 people, their cheers and laughter filling the air during grand spectacles. We step inside through one of its arched entrances. The light changes again. Soft shadows spill across the curved seating rows. Though the stone is cool now, you can imagine the warmth of bodies pressed together here. The rustle of togas, the murmur of excitement before the games began. Down below, the arena floor is silent. Grass has begun to grow in patches, but you can still see the outlines of where the sand once lay, where gladiators fought, where musicians played between contests, where the people of Pompeii came not just for sport, but for community. Today, it is peaceful. Only the faint sound of wind moves through the open space, a gentle sigh that passes between the rows of stone. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear the echoes of 1,000 voices carried away by time. We find a seat high in the stands, and for a moment, we simply watch the evening light spill into the arena. It is calm, still, and timeless. The sky above Pompeii begins to soften, a pale wash of lavender, tinged with the warm gold of the fading sun. Shadows stretch long across the streets, and the voices of the day grow quieter. We follow a narrow lane, its stones cool beneath our feet, until the Stabian baths rise before us. Their entrance is modest from the outside, but within lies a world of gentle light and warm air. We step inside. The change is immediate. The faint scent of mineral water, the hushed murmur of flowing channels, and the dim glow of oil lamps flickering against painted walls. The frigidarium greets us first, its cool pool lying still, reflecting a ceiling decorated with faded frescoes of dolphins and waves. We move slowly past, into the tepidarium, where the air grows warmer, and the stone benches invite rest. Here, steam curls upward in slow, graceful spirals, and the world outside feels far away. The walls are painted in deep reds and soft yellows, colors that seem to hold the day's last light. In the caldarium, the hot room, the air is thick and soothing. We imagine bathers reclining here after a long day, letting the warmth seep into their bones, their conversations hushed and unhurried. But now, there are no voices. Only the faint trickle of water, and the soft hum of the evening settling in. When we step back outside, Pompeii is bathed in twilight. The streets are nearly empty, lanterns glow behind open doorways, and the scent of bread baking still drifts from a distant bakery. We walk one last time along the main road, past the silent shops, past the sleeping homes. The city feels suspended, caught in a gentle moment before night truly falls. And as we leave the gates, we look back, the outlines of roofs and columns fading into the purple sky. Pompeii rests now, quiet, eternal. The wind carries the last sound, a soft sigh through the stone, and then there is only stillness. You close your eyes, and the ancient city fades into dreams.